Peace, my family, and fire back to all those coming out of that good cocoon for the first time. Welcome. This is your girl, the butterfly. We about to take off. Oh yes, let's fly. Just want to send you all that good healing energy your way. Peace, love, happiness, harmony, and abundance. Hope you guys are out there keeping your mind right and that good mind. How y'all feeling? Hope you guys most definitely moving on up. That's right. In your higher nature, family, and most definitely cleansing. Because if you don't know, now you know. Oh yes, we must cleanse. Cleansing that lower nature, those lower frequency energies, family. It's all about purifying your soul. Right? When you're going through these metamorphoses and the transformation processes to get closer, to get back in alignment with the Most High, family. So it's all about raising your consciousness, and certain things that you must know. The Most High wanted you to know and be aware of, and also to get to remembering once again who you are. Alright? So I came out here today to read. This right here was going to help you on this good journey. This is called Does God and the Devil Exist? Question. And it continues. So let's get to it. Alright? It reads, the devil of the Bible came into existence, or was introduced for the first time in Genesis 3:1, where he is called the serpent. And I quote, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. The Hebrew word for serpent is nakash, which means the ancient, or the whisperer. And kahanas in the Quran, right, of the Muslims, chapter 114. It says, according to the Quran 7:22 and Genesis 3:13, that he was there in order to beguile or trick Adam and Eve. He was therefore before them. Quran 7:22. And so it reads, so they proceeded with their deception. So when they tasted of the tree, the poppy from the tree of agreeable and disagreeable underneath, where the scroll of all was, it manifested both for them their nakedness. And they began to sow upon themselves leaves from the enclosed garden of the light. And their Rab, who is master, Kakleon, called upon both of them, did I not forbid both of you of that tree? One moment. So let me rewind back one moment. It says, the OP from the tree of agreeable and disagreeable underneath, where the scroll of all was. It manifested to both of them their nakedness, and they began to sow upon themselves leaves from the enclosed garden of delight. And their Rab was the Rab, who is master, Michael, Urim, called upon both of them. Did I not forbid both of you of that tree? Question. And I say to both of you, surely, Satan, the reptilian, is to both of you a clear enemy. So by deceit he brought about their fall. When they tasted of the tree, their shame became manifest to them, and they began to sew together their leaves of the garden over their bodies. And their Lord called unto them, did I not forbid you that tree, and tell you that Satan was an avowed enemy unto you? Question. Genesis 3:13. And it reads, the Yahshua the Elohim Hakoyel, Hero said to Eve and Kabal, "What is this that you have done?" Question. Eve and Kabal answered and said, "Nakaz, Halo, the son of Chakar, and Melita deceived me into consuming it." And the Lord God said unto the woman, "What is this that thou hast done?" And the woman said, "The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat." So let's go on. So his devil, or Iblis, or Shaitan, or Satan, was already there. Or as the Quran says, he says, "I was created before them of fire, free of smoke," or smokeless fire. The Quran 55:15 and 7:11. You need things to start a fire, right? And oxygen is one of the main elements needed for a fire to burn. And what is fire? Question. A fire is rapid but continuous chemical reaction accompanied by the sending out of light and heat. Most commonly, it results from a rapid chemical change in which there is freeing of heat combined with oxygen by some combustible or burnable material. A flame and heat also may result from a reaction involving an element other than oxygen, right? In other words, it is a result of a rapid union of oxygen and other substances. Fire creates and makes toxins. Most people die from the toxins and chemicals that fire give off, right? Then there are gas fires, right? Fuel fires, electric fires, spontaneous combustion fires, hell's fires, right? Which, according to the religious sector, is symbolic of the devil. So my questions to the Mohammedans are, which of these fires was the devil or Iblis created from? And what things existed before Allah created the heavens and the earth? Question. What things started the fire to create the devil or Iblis? The Quran 55:15. These are a few of the many questions that Muslims cannot answer. And that is the end of his answer. So let's go on. So what is meant by Iblis being created of fire? So let's find out, right? It reads, the Quran 15:27 refers to Iblis as Nuran el Samun, which means illuminated poison. What is meant by Iblis being created of fire means it's talking about the anger, right? The hot breath you give off, the form of fire called your aura. When you become angry, right? Your personality changes from positive to negative. One moment. Alright, where was I? When you become angry, right? Your personality changes from positive to negative, thus making your light, aura, or your hallowed color change. This is the same thing that's happened to Iblis. When Allah asked him to bow down to Adam, and he refused. In the Quran 2:34. And I quote, bow down to Adam. And they bow down. Not so Iblis. He refused and was hostile. Iblis was called hostile as well, which translates in Arabic as Hastakala, which means big-chested, full of pride, boastful, pouting out of anger. When it says he is created from smokeless fire, it is referring to his nature, okay? The devil can be anybody who loses touch with reality and goes ego tripping and pouncing out of the smokeless fire. Let me repeat that one more time. The devil can be anybody who loses touch with reality and goes ego tripping, right? And pouncing out of the smokeless fire, which is what Iblis did when he was asked to bow down to Adam. So when the word fire is used, then referring to Iblis being created from fire is talking about his aura or his curling form. The Quran 55:15 confirms this because it says, and I quote, and he created jinns from fire, fire of smoke, or smokeless fire. Because no matter what kind of fire is burning, right, there is always smoke. So it is obvious that the Quran 55:15 was not talking about your normal day-to-day fire. Alright, now, so let's go on. It goes on to see. Next question. Was Nakaz or Iblis the devil created before or after Adam and Eve? Question. Let's find out, right? Alright. Nakaz was created before them, okay? Because obviously, they speak of the creation of Adam and Eve, Genesis 1:27, but where did they speak of the creation of the devil, right? The Bible refers to the devil as a serpent, Genesis 3:1, and the devil wasn't from Adam and Eve's seed because it is stated in Genesis 3:15, and I quote, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed. This same story can be found in the Quran 2:36. When God was talking to the serpent, he made a clear distinction between the serpent's seed, right, and the woman's seed. Thus, the serpents didn't come out of Adam and Eve's seed. What is a serpent? Question. It is a reptile, and reptiles dwell in water and some on land. Revelation 13:1. So the devil must have been a reptile. Serpent, a scaly, wingless, a reptile, a snake, especially when being large or large in size. You know, a snake, which is also known as a serpent. This is what religious sects say Eve spoke to in the garden, right? A snake. Okay. It goes on to say, we know that Satan was in the waters before the earth was reformed, because in Genesis 1:2 it says that the darkness was upon the face of the deep, and we saw the deep was the water. So he was in the waters. We saw he was called a creature. How do we know he was in the waters? Question. Well, ask yourself. Is he mentioned in the Bible or the Quran when Adam and Eve were created? Question. No. But we do see that he just appears in the garden. So where did he come from? Right? Well, he must have come from the waters. You follow? Question. And then when the earth was reformed, he went upon the earth. Now, there it was void and darkness upon the earth, and only water. Then where did this Satan who pops up in Genesis chapter 3 live before the dry land appeared? Question. Thus, you have the snake story, right? The Quran and the Muslims say that the devil was created before Adam and Eve. In the Quran, 7:11 through 12, where he says himself, I am better than he. Thou didst created me from fire, and him from clay. He was literally asked Allah, why should I bow down to Adam? Question. Who was created of clay, and I was created before him of fire. The word used for bow in the Quran 7:11 and 12 is sajadat, which was to prostrate. And what do you do when you prostrate? Question. You put your face to the ground. If the devil is in heaven, then the devil couldn't bow. In order for Iblis to bow to Adam, he had to be standing on solid ground, which means they must have been standing on some type of firm foundation, such as the earth or heaven has doors. Heaven has floors. Or heaven has floors, right? Refer to 360 questions to ask a Hebrew Israelite. Now that right there is on the channel too. If you are interested in that, which is going to be very beneficial for you to have these questions. Check it out, it's on the channel for you. If you need help, I'll be happy to help you get you what you need, alright? So, let's go on. The devil was being asked to prostrate to man who was made of clay, as the Quran 23:12 puts it. It is a sin. Then the law still existed not to bow or worship anyone other than Allah, which left the devil between a rock and a hard place. They understood back then, right, in the ancient tablets, that this Satan was some type of reptilian who lived in the water before the dry land reappeared, as Genesis 1:2 makes it seem. Then, when the dry land appears, this reptilian obviously came into the land, right, to influence these new created or procreated beings, Zakar, Adam, and Cabal, Eve. And if the devil was created before Adam, this would mean the devil would have had to have been created within the 6 days of creation, before Adam and Eve, because that's when all the minerals were created. That means that he came with the creation of the heaven and the earth. Genesis 1:9 through 10. And it goes on to read, right? And the Elohim, the Anunnaki, said amongst each other, the water beneath the skies are to be brought together as one mass, as oceans and rivers and streams and lakes, and let the dry land be seen, right? And this appeared, and this happened, and the Elohim, Anunnaki, the Anunnaki, called out that the planet Earth will be called dry land, the landmass, key, and the waters that were gathered together, they called the seas Tamat. And the Elohim Anunnaki saw that things this way were agreeable. So it goes on to say, right? In the King James Version in 1611 AD, right? The mistranslation, it says, and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called the seas, and God saw that it was good, right? So let's go on. So now we have another approach of looking at Satan, the devil, or the serpent as a reptile, who religious scholars describe as moving on his belly like a snake. Genesis 3:14. Scholars would draw all of these conclusions, and the devil being a snake. However, they failed to realize that he had to have dwelled in water. He was a nomos, as the tribe of Dogons in Mali, Africa, called the beings that came from the star Sirius, the dog star, Alpha, in the Canis Major constellation, who lived in water at night and came on land to teach and mix with them. And there is an African tribe who speak and teach this to this very day. This tribe is known as the Dogons, and their high priest is called a Hagan. And they migrated from Nubia and live now in Mali, in West Africa, in the cliffs of Bad Majara. And the knowledge that the Dogons speak about today is information that was handed down to them from their descendants. The Dogons have knowledge about the universe, the star formations, and constellations that scientists didn't know about, and still say it was impossible for the Dogons to know about, because they did not have any telescopes or any of the advanced technologies and equipment that astronomers use today. These beings who came to them were a species of reptilians called the Meldekians, the ones who lived under the Bermuda Triangle. The Dogons are in Mali today, and they are the descendants of the Nomos. And the word Nomos comes from the Greek word law, which is also spelled Nomos, meaning law, as followed in Matthew 5:17, and is the law of Moses, which is the Torah. The Hebrew word meaning law, direction, or instruction, right? The Dogons were named after the disagreeable Anunnaki, the Anunnaki, named Dagon, meaning a fish, right? It's found in Judges 16:23, 1 Samuel 5:2-5 and 7, and 1 Chronicles 10:10, which is from the Hebrew root word dog, which means fish. According to the online Bible Concordance, Dagon is a Philistine divinity of fertility and represented with the fish in the hands of a man and the tail of a fish, which proves that these reptilians were from the water, as mentioned earlier. The Hebrews, not the Hebrews, but the Nubians, right? The Nubians, name for reptilian is Darin, and the plural of it was Darin, or it is Darin, and it And the name, right? The name for the graves, right, was angels or children of the Nile, okay? Which is another group of extraterrestrials. The 56th name of one of the 200 fallen angels is Dagon, and you can refer to the scroll of eyes, and check that out. It's called the Scroll of Eyes, who lived before Adam and Eve's story scroll as well. Both of these scrolls, you can find this on the channel as well. And if you need help, I got you, alright? All these things that he references in his scrolls is something to seek out so you can help you piece it all together, right? So, that is the end of his answer, alright? And it's a lot of right knowledge and good knowledge in it all to help you to break it all down for you. So, okay, for now, right? You know what? I'm going to do one more question because this is quite short, okay? Let's get to it. So the next question is, are the reptilians in human form or are they in reptilian form? Question. And this is our Master Teacher, Dr. Malachi Z's answer, right? The elite of the reptilians are called the Dracos, okay? They can take on human form, okay? And have bred children that reside with the children of the Elohim, okay? When they show movies like The Battle Star Galactica and Star Wars and Star Trek, etc., right? They're telling you about the history of this planet. And they're telling you the real stories in movies every day. Did y'all know that? Yeah. I know a lot of you did if you on my channel, right? They're telling you about the history of this planet, right? And they're telling you the real stories in movies every day. In Star Trek, right? Go check it out. And the Kingwingtons are reptilians. And they're telling you who they are. Alright? So, that is the end of his answer. So for now, family, I'm going to leave it at that. If you want to check this out yourself, family, just on the channel just for you, man, it's here for you. And it's called Does God and the Devil Exist? Question. Scroll book by Master Teacher Dr. Malachi Z. Remember, it's here. Alright, so I'm gonna leave it at that for now though. Again, if you are interested and have any questions for me, check it out and enter it in the comment section, or you can email me at thebutterfly919@gmail.com. Alright? For now, I want y'all to know that you are loved so much beyond this world. Oh yes, and in it, you're gonna spread that love, family, one to another. Be that peace that you see. Peace, salam, divine love, family. Free our Master Teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. Because it is. It is. Oh.